Before I get started, I do consulting on where you can move. I'll work with you to find the perfect place for you to move to. There's more information at the end of the video about that. Now let's get started. Look at that. That's the state capital of Iowa. What a big building with the big golden dome on top. It's certainly very handsome. Lots of important Iowa laws are made in that building. Lots of common sense laws are written in those halls. I'll tell you that. I finally made it to the capital. It was day 16 on my major Midwest adventure, so it's about time I saw a state capital. I've been in Iowa for who knows how long and saw a lot of other Iowa stuff, so I had to come here, right? I'm in Des Moines, population 215,000, and that's a lot for Iowa. I'd spend 2 days here, and it would be my last stop in this state. Many people have said that Des Moines, Iowa is the best city nobody talks about. I have to say, this place needs to be talked about more. They got 0 in the bottom of the third. Yes, that's me, running the scoreboard at a baseball game. I guess when you get to kinda cool status, they let you do stuff like this. Good people, nice stadium. But we're not just in any stadium, we're at the Iowa Cubs Stadium. The Cubs are a big deal in Iowa because they're this state's only professional sports team. And if you know anything about Iowa, they like their sports here. On the weekends, you'll see a lot more butts in seats. What's coolest about this stadium is, just like the real Cubs, this baseball stadium's in the heart of their city. Look there. That's downtown. We'll come back to the game later. There's lots of stuff to talk about downtown, too. You could break Iowa up into 4 different types of places: rural conservative, liberal college towns, blue-collar big cities like Cedar Rapids, and white-collar Des Moines. Des Moines is known for moderate conservatism, a sense of community, low crime, and a low cost of living. For now. Jobs-wise, it's looking pretty good. Tech is moving in, and there's a lot of agriculture and insurance industry jobs. That's going to draw in more people. The Des Moines metro area is supposed to get to 1 million people in 20 years. The suburb to the north, Ankeny, it's one of the fastest growing towns in the U.S. There's construction all over the place here. New businesses and condos and things to do are around every corner. And look at the cost for parking. That's almost free. That's like 15 times lower than some of the shitty big cities I've been to. It's truly a city on the move, and it might be symbolic of the new Iowa, everyone. Downtown Des Moines feels like a throwback to a classic American city. They just don't have a lot of today's modern problems in large numbers. However, as Des Moines is getting better, it's getting worse at the same time. Tech companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft are moving here to save on costs. And that's great for jobs, but all that new growth is pushing poor people away from downtown. Today, you'll find places downtown where you pay $2,000 a month to live across from a crack house shelter. Yikes. And crime is starting to go up here too. I saw the same thing in Omaha, a city that's also primed for growth but experiencing modern day setbacks as well. One day, I met a man named Timothy. Timothy's a homeless man who told me he was leaving Des Moines because the city's homeless shelter downtown was filled with druggies, and he was sick of it. He told me he had a bus ticket to St. Louis in his back pocket, and he was going home for good to be with his family. So I drove down to the homeless shelter to see what he was talking about, and yes, there were a lot of druggies all over the place. I don't see that very often, and I try to see those things. I certainly didn't expect to see that here in Des Moines. I went back to the shelter the next day, and who did I see walking nearby? Timothy. Hey, I thought he was on that bus to St. Louis. That $5 I gave him that was supposed to buy his snacks for the way home? There's a few things that might be unappealing to moving to Iowa. The taxes are surprisingly far higher than average, although I hear they're thinking about fixing that. The weather stinks for most of the year, and it might seem boring, I suppose. But Des Moines isn't boring. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by how much there is to do here. Downtown has a section that's all fun and hip, but we'll come back to downtown in a minute. If there's one part of town that defines how much Des Moines changed, it's the city's East Village. Across from the river from downtown is this new, hip, cool area with a funky vibe. They call it East Village. About 12 years ago, they started gentrifying this part of town. And now it's the place to be for all the show-offs. I'd call it preppy, snobby, hipster alternative. It's definitely progressive. In talking with the people here, it seems they've really dug their claws into the local political scene. These new liberal newbies. And if there's anywhere in Iowa that can influence the state politics, it's here, in East Village, right at the steps of the state capitol. Outside of pockets like this, most of Iowa votes red. Most people in rural Iowa would say Des Moines doesn't share their values. It's still pretty conservative here in Iowa, but for the first time, there's a lot of political polarization here. Iowa was the second state to legalize gay marriage, and then 3 years later, the people who made that decision, they got kicked out of office. The latest arguments here are about weed and abortion. This person is clearly a conservative. The fashion here is not very conservative. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I guess someone thinks that's a cool shirt. East Village has all kinds of interesting hip places, like the Pink Beaver. When I told the guy at the coffee shop how much I like this part of town, he told me he's very lucky, it's very pleasant, and still affordable. And then he told me, but don't go tell everyone. We don't want more people here. I don't think he knew who I was. LOL emoji. Des Moines is a very important place. That's because Iowa has a big role in predicting our future presidents. And as things change here in Des Moines, it could shift the state's politics and maybe even the nation's politics. People here are some of the future decision makers for a long chain of events that could impact our country. Remember that as I drive around. Iowa State Capitol is getting fixed up, just like the rest of the city's getting fixed up. That's interesting. It was under construction by an all-Latino crew. That's also interesting. But this was as close to the state capitol as I'd get. A friend of mine tried to get me a meeting with the state's popular governor, Kim Reynolds, but her assistant flaked. I doubt she'd see me anyways. I didn't even pack my Lee jeans. Outside of the Capitol building, there's a big Iowa state map. You can walk on it and everything. Very iconic. Here's what it looks like from above. Hey look, I can track my pathway across the state. I began here in Sioux City, then I went to Fort Dodge, Cedar Rapids, Keokuk, and now I'm in Des Moines. And along the way, I stopped in like 800 small towns. I mentioned the things to do here. I'm easily bored, but this place is just too much. So every night I was here, I threw on my new white shoes and hit the town. There's kind of a lot of nightlife in downtown Des Moines. Most of the fun stuff's on the south side of downtown near the baseball stadium. They call it their Wrigleyville because it's the neighborhood closest to their Cubs stadium. This side of town's definitely rowdier and more dangerous than East Village, I'll tell you that. And this was just some random Tuesday night, but the people were out. I never thought I'd say that before. WTF, DM. I'm not kidding. My kind of place. All safe and fun and everyone's chill. There's probably BS, but I didn't see much of it. I didn't go to Mullet's. I bet it's my kind of place. I wish I did go to Mullet's. I hadn't had much comfort food on this trip, and I was all about that. So on my final day in Iowa, I figured, what the hell, and let a belt hole out and dug in. Mashed taters and hush puppies for the win. I didn't see a show here, but I was impressed by the potential. They have some big concert venues right downtown. Jason Aldean, the Eagles, damn Iowa. And of course we had to go to the baseball game. Look, there it is, just a few blocks from downtown. Told you. This is where the beloved Iowa Cubs play. They're the best minor league team for the Chicago Cubs. They made their stadium look like the original Cubs stadium. And, just like the Chicago Cubs, they have a manually operated scoreboard. I asked if I could run it, and the guy said I could. Oh my gosh, what do I do? So much pressure. Everyone's watching. So I got some advice from the normal scoreboard guy on how to do it. Carl, what is the most important thing to know when you're running the scoreboard?
Know who's batting. Don't put in a run for the wrong team. That's embarrassing.
I didn't do a good job, but I did it. They got 0 in the bottom of the third.
Oh, you gotta lift it up.
Oh, what? What am I doing?
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Are you still rolling?
Yeah.
They got 0 in the bottom of the third.
And there are little slots. Oh, wait, 1 sec.
Oh.
There are little. You gotta get both of them into the
fall
slot.
down?
Yep. Here we go.
It almost fell down inside the stadium.
Yeah.
There we go.
Go. Third time's the charm. Lift it up. There we go.
Go Cubs. I almost dropped the 0 on the field. That would have been classic. But there it is. That's my 0 right there. At least I didn't put it in upside down. That would have been embarrassing. The Cubs lost to the Toledo Mud Hens on this night. But there's good news. The next day they had a doubleheader. So I had to go. And boy, was it empty. It was just some random Wednesday afternoon. And apparently they didn't market the game very well. And it was 100 degrees outside. At least according to my car thermometer. I got to sit in the dugout. I even got a baseball. The good news is the Iowa Cubs won the first game of that doubleheader, and that brought my minor league attendance record to 1-3 on the trip. I finally saw a win at a minor league game, and it only took 2 damn weeks. So what do the neighborhoods look like here? The growth explosion's happening on the western side of town. I went to the good and the bad sides of town to show you what it looks like. I normally don't film myself, but this was on accident. So here I am on my way to see how the people live here. Everybody agrees the bad side of town's a pocket on the north end over by Drake University. It's a small school with 5,000 kids. Here's what Drake looks like on its campus. A lot of the people on this end of town have been pushed away from downtown because of the economic growth. And if there's going to be any trouble in town, this is likely where you're going to find it. You might be surprised, actually. Crime in Des Moines is actually pretty high on this side of town. And overall, Des Moines is the 30th most dangerous place in the country. About as dangerous as Washington, D.C. on paper. But let's be honest, it's nothing like D.C. Not here. You want an idea on how cheap Iowa is? Here's a map of every house that sold for under $50,000 in the last year. This is the capital of Iowa, people. And it's Iowa's biggest city. What the hell? Here's what the middle class looks like. A home here would cost you about $200,000. That's actually pretty darn good, wouldn't you say? Look at how nice it is. You could walk around here at night and feel safe. And I bet all the kids get good grades too. Even little Des Moines is getting more and more expensive. This is the fancy part of town where homes are going for about $550,000. Yes, people in Iowa make enough money that they can afford that. I know. You could live a nice Des Moinesian life, folks. Look at that. Just wow, people. All of this could be yours for a low, low price, kinda. I was impressed, and I had seen a lot of Des Moines by the time I visited this neighborhood. And I had seen a lot of Iowa, too. On my final morning in Iowa, I looked outside my hotel room and thought about how I felt about this place. Is it amazing here? Sorta. For now, it's everything people say they want in a place. I say Des Moines is the shit, and so is Omaha. Iowa and Nebraska are the jam right now, I'm telling you. So there you go, people. Just saying. But wait, it's not over. On my way out of town, guess who I saw walking down the street? Timothy. He stopped to chat and he told me he's tired and dirty and broken down. He said he just doesn't like himself here in Des Moines anymore. But I had to ask about the bus ticket he told me he had. He was supposed to go to St. Louis 2 days ago. Well, you know how that went. I don't know if I believe Timothy has that bus ticket, but I want to believe him. I want to believe he's going to a better place. Des Moines going to a better place. So hopefully, he does too. And now, it's over. Almost. How has Des Moines changed? You've lived there your whole life. You could give people good insight into that. How has it changed? Good, bad?
Yes, definitely. The only negative that I'm going to, well, so I'm 37, and the only negative that I'm going to say, well, actually, so in Iowa as a whole, there are some places out east in Iowa, the Quad Cities, Davenport, Dubuque, that you've been having quite a few people from over the past. What I've heard over the past like 5 years in particular, 5 to 7 years, you've had a lot of people from Chicago coming over just because they can cause trouble over here way easier and it's cheaper and whatever. But we really haven't been having that in Des Moines. It hasn't really trickled down too much in Des Moines. So I mean, as a whole, it's just pretty much improved, really. There's a lot more to do. Like our downtown area, for instance, we still have and it's small and it always will be small compared to, like my brother lives in Brooklyn, New York. I've been out to Brooklyn or to New York a lot, and Des Moines, downtown Des Moines is never going to be a large, there just isn't enough space to be, for it to grow. So just as a whole, it's pretty small, but there's a lot more to do than there used to be, like over the past, 2022. Over the past 10 to 15 years in particular, let's call it 10 years, a lot of concerts going on. We've got a place called Wells Fargo Arena. That's our main venue that we get large concerts. Crime rate is, I stopped watching the news over 2 years ago, so like I don't pay attention to stuff. I've just found that's less stressful that way as in general, just not to pay attention to anything. But the truth is that like, I'll hear from a friend here and there that like whatever happened, someone got shot or whatever. But the thing is though, is that there's nowhere in the entire Des Moines surrounding area where me or anyone I know like feels unsafe to be at any given time, really. So
yeah. You do not want. I talked to somebody in Cedar Rapids. I was in Cedar Rapids 2 days before I went to Des Moines, and they were complaining that there were people moving in from Chicago.
Absolutely,
yep. Crime rate. You do not want that problem in Des Moines. I feel bad for you if you get that problem.
Yeah, no, Des Moines for the most part hasn't gotten that. And I mean the thing is that just like anywhere in the world, there's crime happens. Crime has always happened. But the thing is that here's something, because I was an Airbnb host for, like I told you earlier, I was an Airbnb host for 4 years. I stopped doing it like less than a year ago. And I've had people coming from all over the country, and actually some people from different parts around the world. And most of them were here for business, and most of them were here. They would stay with me for a month or so, and then they would end up living here. And so I would just give them different tips and different how-tos of, hey, welcome to Des Moines, here's what you need to know. And couple of the things that I would tell them would be, one of the first things would be, I have 6 sisters myself, okay, and 1 brother. There's 8 kids in my family. And now, while I wouldn't advise this just because we live in a messed up world, but we've always lived in a messed up world, I've always said this, and I still stick to this. There is nowhere in the entire Des Moines surrounding areas that, like, literally any of my sisters by themselves would probably be okay at any time during the day, walking on the street anywhere. Now, mind you, I wouldn't advise doing that, but like there's a lot of parts in Chicago and Detroit and different places that I don't care how big, tall, what color you are, or anything, you're not going to go in certain areas because, like, for real, you're going to get shot. I mean, that's just exactly how it is. But also some of the things I'll tell people that are moving here is in regards to like rush hour traffic. It just doesn't exist here. People that live here will be like, oh man, I rush hour traffic, and there might be some standstill traffic, and they, want to get off on an exit. And I have literally timed it because I actually started a YouTube channel myself not too long ago. And I actually took a video of it just about a month ago. And our rush hour traffic, you will be delayed about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So compared to anywhere else in the country, I mean, even as I was making the video, it's like if anyone out in LA was in rush hour traffic while they were watching this video, they would just laugh. They're like, because like 7 minutes, that's like almost like the amount of time you stay at like a stoplight that maybe just like stays red for too long. But in regards to other things, like taking care of like our roads are incredible, man. It's just amazing. Like you'll drive on I-80. It's hilarious. You can drive from here to Illinois, and our I-80 is beautiful. And literally, as soon as you cross over onto the border, you can just have your eyes closed and be taking a nap, and then go, "Oh, we're in Illinois," because the roads are crap. And like our snow removal, for instance, is taken care of. They do an amazing job with snow removal. When you drive on Interstate 235 or I-80, or even just different side streets, for the most part, there's no trash anywhere. I mean, the only thing that will really happen is like if we just mow. If they, and the other thing is they do a really good job of keeping up with mowing. They mow.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
Iowa's clean.
Yeah.
Iowa's safe. Iowa has good people. Des Moines is a wonderful place where you could go anywhere and not feel dangerous. It's affordable.
Yeah.
What's the secret? How does Iowa do it?
I think some of it is just the quote unquote good old fashioned Midwest values has never left. Like the seediness from the big cities somehow hasn't made its way here yet. I don't know.
Yeah. Do Iowans look at each other and understand? And I've asked this, you're about the seventh person that I've talked to in the state of Iowa. I started in Sioux City and I wound my way around. Do Iowans talk amongst each other and discuss the fact that your state is so well run and it's a far cry from a lot of the BS that's going on in other states? Are you guys aware of that? Do you discuss that amongst yourselves?
I think actually, for the most part, sadly, just like anywhere, people get used to things really, just like I mentioned about the trash. For the most part, people are just used to and, complain about, our price of gas and everything, and, our price of groceries. Down the street, the gas is like $3.01 or something. And I think in California, it's still, I don't even know, $7 or something like that. So I think it's just, no, we as a whole, people here probably, I would say just when they leave, they realize how good they have it. So when they leave on vacations, because people always talk about, I want to leave, I want to move. And the thing is, though, is especially once people have a family and like the first time, or like, let's say this happens a lot, as I'll have friends, over the years that they get married or whatever, they get with a significant other, and before they have kids, they go with the two of them on a big vacation to California or New York or whatever, come back and they realize, oh snap, yeah, I want to raise a family in Des Moines, Iowa, because it's crazy cheap and it's safe, so.
Do you guys worry that you're going to be like Omaha is starting to grow? They're starting to see a little bit of the big city stuff with a little bit more crime, a little bit more traffic. Their cost of living is going up dramatically.
Yeah.
They were always the like, hey, we're a great place. Nobody wants to come to Omaha. Nobody even talks about Nebraska. And now people are starting to move there. And now they're like, oh shit, like we've got those problems. Do people in Des Moines worry about growing to the point that your little bubble will get burst and
not really
greatness is not going to be there anymore?
No, I don't think so. Because especially one thing that's happened, and this might be come into play with the city leaders doing a really good job, actually, is that when I mentioned earlier about Des Moines and surrounding areas, Waukee, for instance, Ankeny, those are different suburbs that here over the past, it's just so happened that over the past 10 years as people have been moving here because they've been hearing, oh, I can be making my $150,000 from Wells Fargo, move here, and then it's worth way more here than it is in Chicago, whatever. At the same time, while Des Moines has been growing, the suburbs have been growing even more so, and the suburbs are still extremely affordable and safe. And so the thing is that I think as a whole, Des Moines has been while Des Moines may have like had some like with Omaha, because like outside of Omaha there's like nothing pretty much, and so no offense to people in Nebraska, but
Well,
Yeah,
outside of Des Moines, there's nothing really. I mean,
correct. But the thing is that Des Moines surrounding areas where that you have that 850,000 people or whatever. Yeah, no, outside of Des Moines, no, yeah, it's pretty much just cornfields. I mean, you got your different small towns and stuff. So Des Moines and then Iowa as a whole, I personally think, and this maybe sounds crazy, but like if Des Moines or Iowa, I think this is one of the safest places to live. Like if you're actually worried about like shit hitting the fan, this is one of the last places. If it's come all the way here, it's done. If you wanted to actually have a bunker, have it be somewhere in Iowa, because they're not hitting Des Moines, Iowa first.
I love your state. I like Des Moines a lot. I feel like I'm going to tell everybody that I think it's a wonderful place, and there's going to be people in Des Moines that are going to say, "Oh my God, like you told a lot of people now, and it's going to be not the same. It's going to change." But I'm sorry, I just have to tell everybody.
People have been doing this for years, though. It's been a solid 10 years where it's like the word has been getting out, and it's still, we don't have 10 billion people living here. You know what I mean? So
is it just the weather? Is that the only reason? Because Des Moines is not boring. It would be boring, I think, to live there for a long time, and because of the distance between Des Moines and the next fun thing. But I felt like there was enough to do there. It wasn't like a completely boring place.
No,
is it the weather and the things to do that deter people from moving to Des Moines? Is that it?
Big part of it, because like I said, I know that's what if you were to take a poll of every single person here that isn't happy with living here, and if you were to say, why are you not happy with living here, they're going to say the weather. But in regards to things to do, there's definitely the city has done a really good job with bringing things, a lot of outdoor things, both outdoor and indoor, because we need outdoor things when the weather's nice, and then indoor things when the weather's not nice. But then also our surrounding states have done a real good job with, I mean, in Des Moines, Iowa, man, we have a lot of things to do that are really close. You got Minneapolis is only 3.5 hours, and Kansas City's 3.5 hours, and St. Louis is 4 hours or whatever, and Chicago is a little over 5 hours. I mean, we have like 5-6 different, we're surrounded by big places to go to,
I wouldn't want to go to Chicago or Minneapolis anyway.
No. I like your Iowa Cubs shirt, though. Yeah. And that's another thing. That we actually have literally, there's a lot of people that say, not just here, that it is quite possibly the best AAA stadium field in the system. I mean, it is fantastic.
They let me run the scoreboard at the game.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And
look at you.
I almost dropped the number on the field. But I didn't.
Hey. Good for you. Good way to go.
Have you ever messed up?
Maybe twice this year, but they weren't necessarily my fault.
Where's the next step up from this?
I guess if I moved to like a major league city, it'd be fun to run their board. Yeah.
Wrigley?
It would be fun to be in Wrigley. They just have to do the out-of-town scores, which they have, I think, 3 people running that.
Are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation. And I can also help you find your new house, too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home, too. That's right. I know awesome, reliable agents all over the country, and I'd love to connect you to somebody who can help you search for that perfect home. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.